Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have my lovely sister here.
Hi everybody.
And we're just gonna have a conversation continuing our friendship series, and we're just gonna talk about how we are friends but we're also sisters. So if you have your sister, your cousin, your best friend, I hope that our advice can like help you out. So
even advice?
Hopefully.
Oh
So what does it feel like to be, we're going to start with like the sister aspect.
we're gonna go straight into it.
Yes.
Okay.
So what does it feel like to be an older sister? Like,
Ooh.
is it an honor?
I love being a big sister. I remember being younger and feeling like it was being a parent. Like literally everything I had to do was like, oh, where's your brother? Where's your sister? Where's your brother? Where's your sister? And in the beginning it felt like annoying because it was like, I just want to go out. Like I remember when I was like 12, 13, Mom would let me go out with my friends and there were a bunch of girls with my little brother.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, and then after a while my friends got used to it and they would be like, oh, where's your brother? And I'm just like, finally, my mother got a babysitter. I didn't have to take him. Like, why are you looking for him? I'm here. This is a girl's day.
Yeah.
But even though it started that way, as we got older and we got closer, I just loved being an older sister, to just have my friend, like have you guys become friends and siblings and grow with you. It feels good. And every time someone asks me, like, do you have brothers and sisters? I'm like, yes. Like, do you want to see pictures? Like, I claim them like they're my kids. So.
Yeah.
I think you get, as an older sibling, you get to play the sister role, but sometimes you get to be the parent, and that feels so good.
Yeah. Well, not for me, because I'm the younger sister, and like growing up, like I would get in trouble from like my parents and then her, so that was like annoying. But I think now,
you still do.
Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of.
Kind
But
of.
I think now I'm way more like appreciative that I have an older sister,
You
and
wasn't
like she's
appreciative
like,
before?
no, before it was annoying, like. But I think now it's like she's also like really successful, so she's like a great example to me. So
Aww,
yeah,
thank you.
I'm really proud of her, guys.
You are.
Yeah.
What are you
I only
proud
told
of?
her that like on the video.
Just
I don't
because
tell
that,
her
right?
that.
Like, why couldn't you tell me that?
Yeah, I know.
What are you proud of being about?
I think you're very educated. Like she's so serious about like school. Like how many masters do you have? Like
Just two.
Just two. Like people don't usually have one, so that's already a big accomplishment. And then I think you're just like your drive for life and to be better and to affect change in other people is just like beyond anybody that I know. Like if you know her, you just love her. Like I haven't met anybody that's
I'm
like,
not comfortable with that.
well, a few people, but
out there.
we won't mention them. But I just think majority of the people who know you, like they love you and they love to be around you. So I think that that's like a great attribute because not everybody can like say that.
Thank you, Sissy.
Yeah, of course. So now that we're like older sister, younger sister, we do have a brother in between, so we do have to mention him. We can't leave him out.
He's probably gonna be jealous.
Yeah, he's probably
I'm
gonna be
on the video with you,
and he didn't.
Oh, you guys left me out again.
Yeah, he's the middle child, so
It's
you guys
okay.
already know.
We love him.
Yeah. So now that like I'm like somewhat, I guess I am an adult, right? Yeah.
You are.
So we moved from like being like somewhat of this dynamic of, oh, this is my older sister, I'm the younger sister, and I'm like the child or whatever, and now to like somewhat of this adult like sibling relationship. Now like that's easy to just say like, oh, she's my sister, so we should just be friends and we should just be cool, but sometimes like that's not the case, and I feel like that wasn't the case for a while. So do you want to talk about like that time where it was just like you're
What's happening?
Yeah.
Okay, like where does our relationship stand? So we're 7 years apart, and when you were born, I was old enough. I remember being old enough to do laundry, to make her bottle, to help. And so when she was born, you were actually, the doctors weren't even sure if you had asthma or it wasn't because you were a preemie. So you like required a lot of extra care. And of course, anyone who knows older siblings, like that's the mom saying like, just say I need you to do this, just say I need you to do this, just say I need you. So in the beginning, I feel like our relationship, to me, I looked at you as work. Right, and it was like, oh my God, my sister, here we go, more work, more work, more work. And so growing up and becoming a preteen, I didn't really want to be around you. That sounds bad.
No,
but
it's
you
okay.
know
it's normal. Like, that's a normal stage in life.
I was like,
sibling.
oh, when I saw her, I was like, oh my goodness. And then I was in I went to a private school for middle school, and then my brother joined 7th grade here, and then my sister joined. And when my sister joined, I was just like, really, I can't get away from this girl. Like, now I'm in school, and of course, going through all the hormonal changes of like a preteen transitioning into high school that I want to experience on my own, but I have a little sister in the building because the school went from kindergarten to 12th grade. So we would pass in the hallway and they would have like the little munchkins in the class. She was a little munchkin. She'll be like, I can just say it. And in my head, I'm like, act like you don't know me. Like, don't say my name. And she's just like so excited to see her big sister. I was such a mean big sister at that time. I was just like, put your hand down, stay in the line. Like, don't talk to me right now. Because it just felt like work. It was like, I'm in school. Why do I have to be a big sister still? Like, we're supposed to be in our own worlds right now. So I didn't want to socialize with my sister. I didn't want to do anything outside of whatever we had to do at home because I wanted to experience life outside of home. Like, I wanted my own friends and wanted to do my own thing and wanted to leave you out on purpose because you were work, right? In my mind at that time. But I think that once I I left home and got my own place, and it was like, my sister's not in the house anymore. And then it was like, where are you? Like, why aren't we still in each other's world? And I think it was because I kept you, like, for home. Like, you were a part of home. And then once I left home, it's like, you're not around anymore. And then I missed you. And I was like, where's my sister? So then we had to find a way to have a relationship without me being in the same house as you. And then I think from there is where our friendship started growing a little bit more. Where it started off with just like me being on my own in like my own place and me calling her like, do you think this outfit looks good? Like, does this match? Do you think I look cute? Like, and her giving me makeup advice, like outfit advice from my place, and she was home with my parents still. And then, so it became more cordial, and I feel like that's when we started being friends, right? And talking a little bit. But still not too much, not too deep, like surface level. And then I feel like once I started having a lot of marital issues and then transitioning from marital issues to a divorce, then like we really got closer. I feel that was the case. Do you?
Yeah, most definitely. I think especially like when she moved, I mean, I get the whole idea of like home. Like, you know, when you grow up with your family, it's like, you just know when I go home, I'm going to see them. This is, like, the routine. Then it was, like, she got married, and, like, even, like, on her wedding night, she, like, cried because she was, like,
I did.
Not with us anymore. And I think that we felt like that, like, detachment. But it was, like, wait, you were with us, and now you're just gone from, like, one day to the next. So I felt like that was where, like, I don't want to say our relationship suffered, but I think we had to, like, figure out who we wanted to be, like, as adults and friends, and then be intentional about like building that like sister like friendship. And then I think that especially like when you went through like going through the process of like divorce and like trying to figure out who you are outside of that was where I think that our relationship grew. One, because of like clothing and like makeup and like all those things that I could help you with, and then I think the second thing was because of like I was just like a listening ear. And then I also like have my degree in psychology, so like I would use like, oh, I learned this in class, like
I was like testing ground, practice.
Yeah, she's totally like practice, like I learned this in like this class, and like this is what I think that you should do, and just like trying to give advice where I can, or just listening, and I think that that's where like our relationship like flourished. And I think it's funny that like out of something that could have seemed like so negative and so bad, I think changed the dynamic of our whole family for the better, like, of course. Yeah.
But and to add on to what you said, because part of you said like you were learning how to be a therapist in a sense and a counselor, so you were able to think about those strategies when talking to me. And for me, coming to the conversation, I think it was more so like at this moment, I feel like the closest people to me, like the closest person to me at that time, my spouse, like I've lost complete trust in. And so who can I turn to now to just talk about my feelings? And I started going to therapy on my own, but it was just like that once a week thing, like, okay, this is therapist, this is what you talk about. But now when it comes to just being human and expressing how I feel, or crying, or showing that I was confused, I wanted to know that I could talk to somebody that I could trust and that I know at the end of the day would have like my best interest at heart. And it was hard to find that to some extent. Like, I had really, really close friends, but there was always something in the back of my mind, like, can I really trust them? Do I really know that I could trust them? And then and then we started talking, and I was like, this is my sister, and I actually could trust her. And so the conversation went from, like, surface level to, like, really deep and really explaining how I feel. So thank you for that.
Of course. There's a lot of thinking going on. I like it. But one thing that I think that moving on, like, just from that, like, season and, like, time period was just how, like, now, like, we're able to still be cool, and, like, I still give her, like, fashion advice because she be struggling sometimes.
All the time. It's hard for me to care. I don't know. Yeah. Sometimes I just don't care. I'm like, why does everybody care about how we look? Could we just wake up and go?
Yeah, and just be?
Yeah.
Like, no.
But then I see you and you look so cute, and I'm like, I want to look cute too.
Yeah. I always tell her, I'm like, you know, you should go out and, like, because I feel like I hate when people are like, oh, you have to, like, dress for someone else. I'm like, yeah, dress for yourself. Like, that brings up that confidence in you that is not found, that's true, you know, anywhere else. So that's a little, like, tip on the sidebar. But I think, like, moving forward from that, and then just coming from, like, that dark time in our relationship, like, growing, like, where do you see, now that we're kind of, like, coming out of that, it's like, where do you see our relationship going now, like, as we get older and, like, things change, hopefully get married, hopefully have kids, like, where do you see us going?
I have to think about it. I think what I feel like I'm still working on as we continue our relationship is just being the sister or friend role, because there's moments where I feel like I go in and out of roles. Like, I remember being in college and crossing the street and, like, looking for you, like, where's my sister? She needs to hold my hand. But it's like, oh, you're not even there. Like, you're in school. But in my head, it's like little sister mode sometimes. Like, it's just like a trigger sometimes for whatever reason. And so as far as moving forward, I feel like I want to embrace that more because I love that part of our relationship. And I mean, you're an adult now. Like, I have to accept it. But there's moments where I still jump into, like, controlling, like, big sister mode. Where if we're out or whatever, and I'll be like, this is probably not good for you. Yeah. Or I'm like, well, I don't think you should do this.
We're not going to do this.
Yeah, you're not going to do this. Like, you need, what food, I can't even think of an exact example. Yeah. But I know inside there's moments where I'm like, I need to tell her what to do. Yeah, and it's like, no, you don't. You have a mind of your own. And if you want to have a conversation about it, or if I do, we can have a conversation. But I don't have to be in this mode of, like, Katie's, this is what you have to do. Yeah.
And most of the time, like, that's what I'm already thinking. Like, it's like when she's like, oh, well, you should do this. It's like, well, I was kind of leaning towards that already. Yeah. Like, it's never like, oh, this is what you need to do. And I'm completely, like, in rebellion of, like, what she's saying. Like, I'm always, like, considering, like, what she says. And I think also, like, when I was making the decision of, like, where to go for my master's, like, I remember you saying, like, oh, I'm not going to speak on this. Like, this is something that you're going to have to, like, discover for yourself. And that's something that I wasn't used to because as my, like, before she was, like, my mother's sister. So it was like, oh, I have to make this big decision. So you should just tell me what to do. And she's like, no, you're at the place where you're going to do that for yourself. And I was like, wait, what? Like, that's, like, weird and uncomfortable and scary. So I also think, like, you do give me, like, room to, like, grow and, like, make mistakes and then say, okay, well, I think you should try again and, you know, all that, But back to, like, where
moving
you
forward. Yeah. So I feel like I think that if I can get better at that, then we can more so almost be, I guess, grow, like how people would describe besties. But I feel like bestie is a choice. It's almost like somebody that you have to choose. Yeah. And a sister is like you're given at birth, but like a combination of that. And I think that's where we started calling each other like Sissy.
Yeah. So we call each other Sissy. I think
yeah.
It's the cutest
we
thing.
took it from T and Tamara when they had their reality show, and it was like, oh, Sissy, and then like we randomly started. But now I feel like, I don't know, Sissy has become like a respect to me, because I remember a friend was telling me about somebody she called Sissy, and I'm like, you call her Sissy? Like, has she reached to that level in your life yet? Like, there's a level of like sister, friend, and Sissy is like you've
it's
made
like a combo, but like on another level.
So it's like I feel like we've gotten to that point, and but I know that inside I still battle with like Sissy, and then it's like, no, but that's my little sister. Like, and maybe that would never go away, but I would want it to be. I would want to be more of like the friend, because you're an adult, like you said, you're an adult now. But I can't make any promises. Like, the big
Yeah.
sister side of me might pop out once in
Yeah.
a blue.
I think I'm like the same way in the sense of like she's always good like my big sister. So it's like sometimes it's like, okay, I don't want to disappoint you. Like, let me make sure I do this. Let me make sure I do that. Like, you know. So I think that although like we try to get to that level, I feel like a little bit of us, and I guess that's just how the dynamic of like the family works and just like how we grew up. So it's like now I think we're slowly trying to come out of that and just like even like I struggle saying, oh, I'm an adult. It's like, well, I'm like a young adult. Like I'm an older teenager. Like, you know, so I feel like it is gonna take some time for like both of us to adjust. But one thing I do remember was like when you were talking to like your coworkers, I think, and you were like, they were like, oh, how old's your sister? And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
She's like 22.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Because they asked, I was like, oh, this is my little sister. And they're like, oh, how old is she? And then, what did you say, 22 or 21 at the time? And they're like, you said little sister like she was 10. And I was like, well, in my eyes.
Yeah, like in her eyes, I'm always,
still
what's
12.
the age you have for me?
I think it was like 12.
Like 12,
I think I feel like I was stuck at 12. Now it's good that I'm hesitating because that means that I'm growing, you're moving up.
Yeah.
But she turned 17, 18, 21, and people are like, how old is she? And I'm like, she's somewhere around 12, maybe 13 now. Like, that was just the number stuck in my head.
Yeah, that's so funny. But now I just think that as we grow and as we, like, develop, I just hope, like, we could continue that, like, sissy, like, relationship with just, like, being honest, like, being open to each other. And I always love that, like, she's, like, my number one, like, what is it, like, cheerleader? But she's, like, my number one, like, defender, too. So, like, I'm like, this happened. She's like, who did that? Like, don't let me come over there. Like, you know, she's also, like, that. So I always, like, appreciate that. And then I feel like on my side, I think I'm more so, like, let me just hear it out. Or, like, you're frustrated about this? Or let's try to, like, work through it or figure out something. Right? Like, yeah.
And sometimes I don't like that when you do that. Because I'm like, no, I just told you a story. I need you to take my side.
Yeah,
like, I need you. And you're like, well, what was the person saying when they did that? Or what happened before? And I'm just like, Katie,
like, I need context.
Just take my side
take
right
my
now.
side.
Vent with me.
Yeah. And she's ready to, like, fight.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny how, like, although we're, like, sisters, we're, like, really different when it comes to, like, personality and stuff like that. But we're still trying to, like, build that relationship as, like, a sister, but then, like, also a friendship. So do you have, lastly, before we end, do you have, like, any advice for anyone who, like, has a sister that they're watching and they're probably not really close to, or just, like, a sibling in general?
Not really close to. I remember having a friend that it was the first time I've ever heard of something like that, but I know he said, oh, I'm going to go visit my family for the holidays, and yeah, because I haven't seen he told me, I haven't seen my brother and, like, my parents in a year, and I was like, wow, you haven't seen them in a year? I feel like if we don't see each other in a week, it's like, oh, we haven't seen, like, where have you been?
Yeah, what are you doing?
We might be a little extra, like, both extremes.
Yeah.
But I think that at the end of the day, if something were to happen to a sibling or a family member, in my experience, like, the people that I've been around, like, that moment that something happens negatively, like life or death situation or illness, it feels like the people I've been around, like, the world comes crashing down, where it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't do enough, or I should have did more, I should have reached out. Even if you weren't, like, besties as siblings, it just comes, like, to this moment where there's, like, a regret almost, like a fear. And so we like being friends, and I think we want to work on our friendship as sisters. But for anyone else who, like, has siblings that haven't been in contact with, I would say just, like, reach out maybe once in a blue, even if it's, like, every month, just to make sure that your sibling is okay and that you have some type of connection to them, because I would never want you to go through the experience of losing them or something happening where you have, like, the regret of, oh my goodness, this was my blood, this was my family, and I didn't care enough or I wanted to distance myself more because I just didn't want to be in connection with them, to avoid that feeling.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, like, such good advice. And I think also, like, trying to find something that you both like. So, like, in the beginning, like, we didn't just start off like talking about
That's true.
deep things that were happening in her life. It was more like, oh, like, should I wear this shirt with this top, like,
Right.
or like this bottom, or you know, like that's kind of just how it started, and
Yeah.
then it like grew from there.
Yeah.
So I would say probably like find like something that doesn't have to deal with your family or whatever you're involved in, that you like and that they like, and then just try to like build from there.
That's a good point. When you said it, it reminded me of a moment that you did that.
Okay.
And I think that's one moment where I started even building more trust in you, like as a sister. Like I remember I had separated from my former husband at the time, and I was home, but I was trying to work on the relationship. So I was like, I'm going on a date, like, and to me, part of me was nervous to mention. I was like nervous to mention that to you because I was like, she's gonna be like, oh, here you go again, like you don't know what you want, like you're going back and forth. You want it and you left, like. But in the moment, you were just like, oh, you want me to do your makeup? And I was like, oh, like that meant so much to me at that moment, because that conversation could have gone so many ways.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it was like, I know you knew everything that was going on and you knew how I felt. And you were just like, well, let's stick to what we have together right now. And so you're going on a date, you're going to try again. Let's do your makeup.
Yeah.
So, and that means a lot. And I think that even if it's not words spoken, like you can feel the care, you can feel the love.
Yeah.
In that moment, I felt it, and I was just like, oh, thank you, Sissy.
Yeah, and I think that's really just like being intentional, and also not really like having these high expectations sometimes. Like sometimes we're like, oh, because you were complaining about this person, like I just expect you to leave. It's like, no, like I think that when you're trying to build that relationship with someone, like get rid of like those expectations and like, oh, I expect you to be this way, and just be like, what can we agree on, and let's build that, and then hopefully and eventually you can build further where you can become sissies, or you can just become a friend to your sibling. And honestly, that's always like the goal, you know. So I hope we helped you. It was really fun making a video. And don't forget to subscribe. And this is our last video of the series. Sad, but I did have a great time, and I hope you enjoyed the series, and I hope that all the advice that me and my friends gave you guys was helpful. So thanks for watching. Bye.